Welcome to Nebraska Preps Postgame with Damon Benning and Jacob Padilla.
It's another episode. It is NEB Preps, or as the big voice guy likes to say, Nebraska Preps Postgame. That's its official title with my main man, Jacob Padilla. Good mid-morning.
Yeah.
I feel like we just talked. And we've been talking for 30 minutes since you got here. And now we've got the show. How's the Wi-Fi? Is Wi-Fi good?
We're working right now. No hard out this week, so we'll try to go a little longer than 20 minutes this week. Had a short episode last week, but we got more time to kind of chop it up this week.
Yeah, logistics suck. They just do, especially when you got, well, at least one kid and then the adult over there. When you got a kid, like the attention span, it wavers. Shane, we're good to go, man. How do we sound? You like the audio?
I like the audio. The video looks great. So let's keep our fingers crossed and hope the Wi-Fi stays up.
Yeah, Wi-Fi. Kansas City. My head's spinning just a little bit because prep last night, watching some summer league stuff. It's all over with the new locations. We've gone back and forth over the pros and cons of that. I think it's more a con, even though the one pro that's kind of sneaky, it's a little bit more of a controlled environment.
Yeah, and
so I kind of like that.
And like for prep, you can do the shot clock on depending on what court you're on. You've got people there that was part of like you said, the option to kind of control. All right, you're doing quarters, you're doing shot clock. Yeah. So kind of more replicating what it's going to be during the regular season. So that was part of it, on top of easier commute for some people and controlling the game and all that type of thing. So at least last night at prep, they had Papios, or no, Westside wasn't hosting this week. It was just the two locations, Papio South and Prep. And next week, Westside will host. Papio South won't. So Prep will have 8 teams versus 4. So I got to see a little bit more last night than I did the 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, a little bit bigger under the roof, man. So let's start with you and young Mr. Sauter, Michael Jerome Sauter, making the I just make it's whatever middle name comes to mind. Sauter. He you caught a few Z's. You guys left early so you could get down there on time.
Yeah, so we for the Midwest Basketball Showcase, the live scholastic recruiting period, decided to do one day of the girls, one day of the boys to kind of make it fair, try to make sure we see everybody or as much as we could. And 4 days is a lot to be staying down there, especially for staying in a hotel on your dime and all that. So decided to drive down on Friday to watch those games and then stay overnight and then watch the game on Saturday and then drive back. Problem with that is the way they set the schedule up is they make it allow travel in on Thursday and out on Friday. So it starts early or starts late on Thursday on the day one and then goes late, and then on day 2 it starts early and ends early. So it gives teams time to travel back home. Well, we were traveling on the non-travel days, so we had to leave bright and early to get there for the start of the 9 a.m. games on Friday, and then had to wait around until noon for games to start, and then drive back after 8 o'clock on Saturday. But is what it is. We got a chance to see, I think I got to see 18 different teams between the boys and girls in 16 hours. So it's good to get a wide view of some teams, especially some that I hadn't seen much of to this point.
So you got the morning started bright and early. Was it? Did you get started at 8 or 9? You started at 9, right?
Yeah, the first games were at 9 o'clock on Friday.
And you want to start there?
Yeah, we can start with the girls. So to kind of lay it out, the rules are a little different. They went with 18-minute running clock halves, only stopped the last 45 seconds of the game. On and ones, you didn't shoot the free throw. They just gave you the point automatically so they could keep the game going. And all free throws are 1 for 1, 1 for 2, 1 for 3 outside of that. So it was a little weird, just kind of the rules, the flow of the game and all that. But in the end, like, I mean, I think they could probably tweak that a little bit. I'm talking to some coaches. I don't know that they love the rules exactly either. And I think the point was to keep the game going, make sure they didn't run behind. But like teams were getting 10 to 15 minutes of warm up time, so it wasn't like they were close to going over at any point. They were running early all day long. So I think that's something. This is the first year that they've done this version, because previously in other regions they still do the individual invite thing. But I think with some feedback from some coaches in this area, Missouri coaches and everybody involved decide, all right, let's just invite teams so that kids are playing with people they're familiar with. You get a truer sense of kind of what they are for the team, and versus kind of an all-star game setting. Hopefully,
I'm hoping we didn't lose that.
Yeah.
But
Shane, was that audio all good the whole time? Okay, good, because we couldn't hear anything. Just making
he's hilarious. He's just kind of back there doing his own thing.
But and I did talk to a coach down there that like doesn't love it, because like he's there to watch a few kids, and you got this kid playing here, this kid playing here. You got to make some choices about who you're going to watch at different times versus, all right, you got a bunch of kids that I'm here to watch playing on one team. So like there are pros and cons to the individual versus team for those Division I coaches, and that's what this is for, because it's a live recruiting period for them. But ultimately, I think it went pretty well for both the boys and girls, just the flow of everything and getting games and seeing some teams that you wouldn't normally see with Missouri. And so for the girls, it was pretty small for the girls, because I think it was kind of put together late. I know talking to Westside, they were planning to go to South Dakota team camp, and then like they heard last minute like, hey, this is happening, so they flipped their schedule and jumped into that. So but there were, I believe, 13 girls teams from Nebraska and 16 boys teams, so in total 29 teams down there that got a chance to play in front of coaches.
So when you're looking at kind of the setup, it seems like basketball is so far ahead of some other sports in terms of, live periods, eyeballs, getting folks under one roof. Numbers are a little smaller, but the events are so big sometimes you think, oh gosh, I'd like to see other sports do this, baseball showcases or football. We've seen some version of 7-on-7 tournaments, but basketball continues to try to evolve to get folks as much exposure and as many periods as possible for folks to get eyeballs on you. I kind of like the evolution at the high school level, especially regionally, to bring more attention during the quote unquote off season.
And yeah, like the coaches like that taking feedback. They're a few years ago. I mean, this was started from the FBI deal where we want to put more power back in the high school coaches in terms of player recruitment versus just the summer. So that's kind of where this June scholastic period came from. But I mean, again, like talking with coaches, like they like the AAU, the all-star setup where you've got all the best players playing together and against each other. Whereas like Nate Lenzer coming down there to watch Amari Bynum or Braden Frager, guys that he's offered. I mean, there's nobody on either one of those teams that Nebraska's offered or is likely going to offer, but you're there to watch just one kid versus playing with ETG. You get to look at a few different kids that maybe you're on the radar. You get to see Frager playing against the best competition and with good players around him. So it's different setting for sure, but it is, I mean, the more options you give these kids, I think the better it is. And that's ultimately what the people in charge are trying to do, is just give more options for kids to be seen and for coaches to evaluate players in different settings.
I'm going to start with some of the eval from the girls.
Yeah, sure. I said that it was with the rules that the game flow was kind of choppy and it's pretty low scoring. A lot of those.
That was extremely low scoring.
Yeah. But some of the standouts, first game saw Kennedy Williams, Lincoln Southwest.
Yeah. Back healthy, and it shows.
Yeah, very much so. And looking good. She had 18 points in that first game. Really efficient. Hit a few threes. Had an and one as well. Finished through contact. Just showing quickness, showing real quick release, great shot form to get shots off, and made some big plays. And again, with the girls, the fewer number of teams, there are more Nebraska matchups versus just playing out of state teams. Whereas the boys, I don't know if anybody played. I think all the Nebraska teams played outstate teams. Wasn't really in the cards here for the girls, but yeah, Kennedy played well in that game, and then Omaha Westview too. I was impressed. McCartan King almost matched her with 16 points, and Lucy Fierro had 11 points, hit a couple of threes early, had an and one, had 6 assists. Westview, again, very young. They had freshmen, sophomores last year, and now both those two players I mentioned are going to be sophomores. So that was probably kind of one of the more entertaining games there. I mean, 54-46, he had 100 points scored in that game. There were many games that got near that point total. But
I mean, heck, you even had some boys games that were in the 30s.
Yeah. Naomi White had some coaches down there watching her. I know Creighton. And for credit to both Creighton, Nebraska, and Omaha, boys and girls all had representatives down there throughout the at one point or another in the 4 days down in Kansas City. So it's good to see kind of them down there evaluating everybody. I know White was on Creighton's list to watch. I know she's capable. She didn't play as well as she's capable of, but playing against Lincoln Pius X. But she took over. They were down 19-13, went on a personal 9-2 run and scored 3 different ways.
She's interesting though, with her shot selection and degree of difficulty. She can get to a lot of spots on the floor.
Yep.
Sometimes makes it a little tougher than it has to be, but she's capable athletically because she can take over.
And that's the next step for her because she was kind of came out of nowhere last year. She was breakout star of Class A girls, I think. I don't think anybody made a bigger leap than she did, going from off the radar to Bell West best player on a top 5 team. And so kind of got that interest coming into the season. She's got multiple D1 offers, again, has some higher level teams watching her, but they were down, took over, and she scored 11 of their 18 points in the second half. They ended up winning by 1 because Pius threw in a shot from near half court at the buzzer. But that was because White hit a couple of free throws to push that thing to 4, so the shot didn't matter. So she took over down the stretch. Player that I hadn't ever seen before that impressed me, Kiera Duttenhofer from Kearney, scored 14 points, finishing around the basket, long, athletic, showed good touch, playing against the zone, kind of finding the gaps in there along the baseline, facing up a little bit. 6 rebounds. I think she'll have a good year for them. And then Westside's Sinai Foster, someone else that I highlighted.
That I know very, very well.
Yep. Just sophomore, 6'2". Still pretty raw, but again, Westside split their minutes evenly. They went 5 in, 5 out, and subbed throughout the game. So they weren't necessarily, all right, we're playing our best 5 and trying to win this. But even playing only half the game, still had 11 points and 10 rebounds.
She is very, very capable. She's actually legitimately family. That is, that's my cousin's daughter. And I tell you what, she's got good skill, but you're right. I think she's kind of trying to assert herself. She has a very laid back personality, can kind of plays that way, but gifted.
And 5 of 5 from, well, I guess there was an and 1 in there, so she didn't actually shoot that, but didn't miss any of her free throws. And that's where most of her points came from. And you're 6'2" with the touch to knock down free throws. That's very intriguing. And Westside, I think they played a lot of young players last year.
They will be young again. They've got a great incoming class.
And Kara Strickland coming over from Bellevue East, I think the second leading scorer up there for them. She'll be an important piece. Kamora Jenkins, who had an 8 3-pointer game last year.
Who missed the last third of the season, kind of banged, not third, for sure districts. And she just was kind of banged up, but
so
good player.
So with all how young they went last year, you got a chance to kind of take a step forward this year with the additions, with the young players now more experience under their belt. Said got some other young players joining them. So
yeah, Clarkie's done a good job with them. He's made his state tournament runs, and I think the talent is now the influx is coming back at Westside.
Yeah, so those were kind of the standouts that I saw. Unfortunately, Holly Dolliver was injured. walked down there. She was one of the ones that we wanted to see with Malcolm.
Oh, for sure.
And walked in the gym and saw her standing along the baseline with her ankle wrapped in street clothes. I'm like, darn it. So didn't get to see everybody that we were hoping down there. And again, you got it with only 8 hours. You got to choose kind of who you get a chance to see. But I did see. So I saw Southwest play twice. Their second game was against Ainsworth, and they've got an Omaha commit in Kendall Delamont. And she didn't shoot, like the shot wasn't going down for her in that game, but she's a really interesting player. I hadn't seen her before. I know she just committed to Omaha recently, and Coach Banks was down there watching, but she quick release, can get a shot off, good athlete, can rebound, handle the ball well. So kind of another one of those in small school girls that Omaha was able to land, kind of like Grace Cave a couple years ago.
Let's hop over to the boys.
Yeah, let's do it. So, like I said, 16 teams down there, I think, or 50, whatever it was. I know Lincoln Pius 10th was planning to be out there, but they've got injuries with Tracy Anderson going down. Adam Cersei's been out.
Cersei's been out for a little bit of time now.
So I think they ended up having to pull out just because they weren't healthy enough to go have a good showing and make it worth it. But everybody else down there got a chance to see most of the teams, and a lot of Nebraska teams did well. I think handful went 4-0, 3-1. I know most of the teams that we saw went 2-0 on day one. I didn't get a final tally of what all the records were, because I don't know that they necessarily kept that. It was just mostly the teams letting us know how their weekend went. But I guess I'll start with seeing a couple of guys that I hadn't got a chance to see play yet with their teams, and one being Amari Bynum with Brian, because he's been gone at camps basically every time I've seen Brian play, and I've seen Brian play a lot this month. So it was good to finally see what it looked like with him in the lineup. He significantly changes things. They played Union, a team out of Oklahoma, with a 7-foot kid that with crazy long arms, can't really get off the ground, but he was just massive. Wasn't jumping, still finished around the basket. So Amari had the pleasure of trying to battle with him, giving up quite a bit of height and weight, but he showed well for himself. Ended up with 20 points, 9 boards, 4 blocks, including 2 or 3 on the big guy. And man, he didn't shoot great from 3, but hit some tough kind of off the dribble in the post 2-point jump shots. Like you just see nice little, got into a 2 dribble pull up with the defender hanging off and just bottom of the net. Like you can see the touch that he has at that length, at that height, at his position is definitely going to serve him well. Had a couple of dunks as well. Had a really nice post move where he spun baseline and then kind of reversed on the big guys. So I was impressed. He's continued to improve. I think you can see the offers are coming because he has made the leap, even from the end of the high school season when I saw him play there, and that kind of regular season finale against Norris when Norris got him. From where he was there to what I saw on Saturday, it was I was impressed with kind of the progress he's made, and you can see that he's got a chance to be pretty darn good.
What do you think? How good do you think Bynum's got to change his game defensively or improve along his game? Because he showed some defensive prowess in KC as well, which he's very capable of with his length.
And that'll be interesting with Bynum playing next to Rylan Rodriguez. Talk about there aren't a ton of teams with 2 bigs that go 6'7" or taller in the front court that can play together. Prep is one. We'll talk about them here in a minute, but that is an intriguing look because you can play those 2 next to each other. They're both skilled enough. I think they both move well enough, and they've got the length. That's going to be tough with those 2 kind of forming your back line there in terms of shot blocking, rebounding. Rylan Rodriguez is a great offensive rebounder. That'll be tough for if he's got an opposing 4 on him. That's going to be a tough box out for those guys, especially if you're playing teams with 6'3", 6'4" power forwards. So a lot of teams will have. So they look look quite a bit different with Bynum back there in the middle on both ends of the court, as opposed to what I had seen of them previously this month. And then Chuck Love was the other one with Lincoln Northeast. Kind of see what happens there, but he kind of did a bit of everything for them. Ended up falling to a Maryville team. They were playing some zone, and they just could not rebound to save their lives as a team. They were getting stops. They just could not secure the board, and Maryville went on a run to pull. It was tight throughout, and then Maryville went on a stretch there to kind of pull away, and Northeast just ran out of steam. But Love, 28 points, most I saw from a player down there, 12 of 19 shooting, including 4 of 8 from 3. So he's efficient with it. Had 8 boards, including 5 offensive and 6 assists as well. So they kind of had him bringing the ball up, handling it, running pick and rolls, moving the ball. He found some shooters right off the bat. Drove baseline, kicked to a shooter, and then next time down, pull up 3 himself to get him off to a good start. Most of his points were rebound, like either offensive rebounds where he went and got the ball, or putting on the deck and creating himself. So that's kind of, that's for a player like him, that's probably not the worst development situation right now to kind of see what you're capable of. All right, hey, go handle it. You be the dude here. We've got some young guys around you, the guys that don't have a ton of varsity experience, guys, or none at all, guys that are stepping up. So he played really well in the one game that I was able to watch down there, showing what
microcosm, or do you think he can be a more efficient scorer?
Again, a lot of it depend on kind of some of the looks he gets. Again, if he has to create his own shot every single time consistently, it's hard to be really efficient at that unless you're the best of the best. I forgot what kind of he shot this last year for Southwest efficiency wise. Hadn't looked at that recently, but
he was not good against Omaha West Side, but that was at an all-time low, I think, for that Southeast team.
Yeah,
they only dressed 8 that game.
Southwest, yeah.
Did I say Southeast? I meant Southwest.
So that was interesting. We'll see kind of how it all plays out with kind of the movement in Lincoln, new faces. Speaking of Southwest, though, that was the first boys game I watched. Lincoln Southwest against a Shawnee Mission Northwest team that I was really impressed with. But man, that first half for Braden Frager was probably the most impressive half of basketball that I've seen all spring or summer. He right off the bat, he was coming out gunning, making plays, and it wasn't just like he knocked down a 3, a pull up elbow, and then another 3.
Mm-hmm.
And the next time, I forgot if it was the next time, but he had a play. Basically, he scored 17 points on 7 of 8 shooting in the first half. The only miss was a 3 that circled the rim and popped out, was halfway down off a nice baseline play. It was a good look and looked like it was going down. He had, again, 3 of those buckets were dunks, including one where there's one in transition, whatever, where open court, it's a little different. Half court, got the ball, faced up his man, pump fake, rip, drive by, exploded past him, and then went up and finished that strong. Those are the plays okay, that's different. You're dunking on dudes in the half court against a set defense.
Yeah.
That shows that you're special. And I was sitting next to Nate Lenzer for this game, and he was certainly excited about what he saw there.
And Frager he just recently picked up an Iowa State offer too, so it would be highly competitive locally.
Yeah, I think he picked that up down in Kansas City, right. I think that might have been on Sunday after day 1 or whatever. But so he cooled off in the second half. Southwest, they're just so small right now with what they look like during June. Heck, Frager didn't play with them last night. They were literally nothing but guards. Jackson Cruz was the biggest player on the team. It's just playing basically all guards right now, just because of who they have available to them. So, and that really, they just could not get stops against the Shawnee Mission team well enough. Although, again, man, a little bias here, but giving a shout out to my guys, Micaiah Sanders. He's so good with this ball pressure and their pressure late. I've seen this so many plays where his ball pressure, trapping, getting hands on the ball late in games has been huge for Southwest. And there was a game that they had a chance to win this, tie it up late. And part of it is because Micaiah and BJ Sanders kind of teamed up trapped the ball, knocked the ball. Micaiah got it, attacked the basket, and threw up a tough floater over a contest. It banked it in to make it to tie it up or make it one possession game. I forgot, whatever. Southwest needed to get a bucket on the last play, and they had 2 looks at it, didn't go down, so they ended up losing by 2, I think it was. But really good showing from Frager in that half. So those were kind of the 3 guys with Division I offers right now that were down there. I guess probably the most impressive team performance that I saw was Millard North. And man, when that thing is rolling and they got guys hitting shots and making the right plays, that team is so well balanced, so tough. You got a lot of different guys making plays. I mean, they shot over like 62% from the field, 11 of 21 from 3, beat a team by De Smet Jesuit out of Missouri, beat them by 30. And then so many different guys making plays. Neil Mosser, he's been really good. 16 points, hit 4 threes, 3 assists. Elijah Gate, 14 points, really efficient, 5 of 7 from the field, hit 2 threes, had 6 assists and 3 steals. They combined to score Millard North's first 20 points, 12 for Gate, 8 for Mosser.
He's sprinkling guys like Sutton Pikowski.
And he, in the second half, was really good, picked it up. He scored 14 points, most of that, or 9 of that after halftime, scoring. And that's interesting. So they were stretching. So they had Sutton go to work in the post. They had Cam Money on back-to-back possessions. They got one.
Big Money guy,
another
as
bucket.
you know.
You got him scoring in the post. You got Derek Rollins, who we know is capable of scoring in the post. So you can kind of invert your offense. You can put a few different guys down there on the post with the shooters they've got around them. Heck, even like Grant Urbanic and Amari Rahman and Keelan Ben, like all the guys that are kind of fighting for those other rotation spots, they all made a play or 2 here. It's like that was really impressive. So
the key for them, I think it's very, very apparent, is ball handling and taking care of the basketball. If they share it, they'll be fine, right? But teams that match up in the backcourt will put a ton of pressure on them.
Yeah.
And so if they overcome that, they got a lot of scoring options.
Yep.
Perhaps the only team I think they can really match their offensive firepower in terms of versatility, not just being prolific, I think is probably Bellevue West.
Yeah, I would agree. Although Bell West, man, watched them play once and in the 30s lost.
It's different without the general, but they'll get used to it.
0 for 16 from 3.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'll ever see Bellevue West go 0 for from the 3-point line in any setting in any game again. So I think that was a bit of an outlier. They held the other team to 30-some points too. The defense is still there. Robbie Garcia and Jacob Barope were both good. Had combined for 20-some of their 30, whatever it was. They just couldn't get shots to fall. And not having the side notes or that, all right, shots aren't falling, go get you a bucket.
And here's the other thing with him, though, is, and we used to say this about Jaden until we, he's got such a quick release. Being open doesn't matter. But there were stretches we would talk about him. Excuse me. And with Josiah getting to any spot on the floor, Jaden could run and sprint the spots, and he's going to get a good, clean look. So I think him finding a groove and where guys need to get him the ball and where he's going to get the ball will be a little bit of a work in progress without Dotzler, but very underappreciated quality from Josiah, where he'd make a cross-court skip pass. The game winner that Jaden hit against Westside, he was so patient with the ball screen in the 2-man game. Like, that takes some guard savvy. Jackson's a great shooter, but getting him the ball in those advantageous spots is very, very critical. So I think they may need some time. You probably can't do it like JD did, but I mean, that may take a little bit of time of where to get the ball and how to get him to his spots.
Yeah. Another team that I was impressed by that I saw Carney play at Creighton's team camp. They were missing some of their guys.
Let me guess, Ben Johnson, right?
Ben Johnson, really good in this one, but it wasn't just him. Like he had 19.
They're going to be good. That Carney team will be good.
Yeah, and kind of seeing them play, they've got more pieces. Asher Endorf next to him, who transferred moved there from North Bend Central last year. He was kind of versatile piece, can do a little bit of everything. Kind of that glue guy, good length at the 4 spot next to Johnson. Colt Straka played really well, guard there. Luke Draper had 10 points off the bench. They've got some size. They've got some guard options. Ian Piper's a guy that shot the ball well at the Creighton team camp that I saw. So they got a lot of different pieces that can play. They're gonna have some pretty solid depth. I don't know that they've got 10 high level guys, but they can go 10 deep or whatever with guys that you feel comfortable playing in a varsity game, I think, next year. And I think that they might have gone 4-0. I can't remember, maybe 3, but they had a really good week.
I know Padilla South did. Was Kearney undefeated too?
They might have been. Like I said, I didn't keep track of who all did. I think Prep went 4-0 as well. And it's another team. I saw them play against Liberty, Missouri. And man, we talk about that Trinell Parker and Dylan Clausen front court. And boy, it was on full display in this one. Trinell had 12 of Prep's first 15 points, and the other 3 was from Dylan. That's the way they started the game. Trinell ended up finishing with 18 points on 7 of 9 from the field. Had 5 boards, 2 assists, 2 blocks. Clausen finished with 14 points, 3 of 6 from the field, hit a 3. Got to the line a lot, 9 rebounds, 3 assists. And I think Dylan's a guy that one late bloomer, didn't really break out until last year. Even last spring, you could heading into last season, spring and summer, you could see like there's something here, but he wasn't consistently like impacting the box score even for that OSA team. Then he went on to be Prep's best player last season, and now he's a guy that I think you get him in a strength and Colwood strength and conditioning program, what he's going to look like in 2 years compared to what he is now. Because right now, he's a guy I think he can create plenty of contact. He can't really finish through contact super well. Like there are a couple of times where he went in and collisions at the basket and he went flying. But man, he's so skilled, good length. Like I said, can play in a lot of different spots on the court for you. Carson Jones was good in that game too. 13 points, I think it was. Made some nice hit a few big threes and made some other, had a couple tough rebounds. Made a really nice pass. So like those 3, that's a really nice core for Prep to build around. And then it's going to come down to, I think, like we talked about last week, the backcourt.
Yep. Got some young talent.
Caleb Jasu is a guy that played JV for them last year that I think is making a move this spring to actually be potentially a starter or in that mix of your top 2-3 guards there. You've got Torrin Carter-Brown as a sophomore.
Who's got some valuable minutes last year.
Marquise Tolliver, Emmett Knight are the other guys in that backcourt. So like those are the guys that that they're kind of building around there, and we'll see. They'll have a chance to again be top 5 team right there, contend for a state title as long as those guards come along.
And he found another young one too, watching that Padilla South team to go with Ball and Kircher with Mr. Beckenauer.
Yeah, and you got some good varsity minutes last year, and they played a lot of freshmen, sophomores last year. All those guys are back. But man, Reese apparently, I didn't get to see Padilla South down there, but they kept track for themselves. Reese shot 14 of 27 from 3 apparently in their
and averaged over almost 5 assists a game too. So when he's sharing it like that, he's hard to handle.
Yep. So good weekend for Nebraska overall. It was fun to see teams going down and kind of showing well for the state, especially in front of those coaches. There were a good number of coaches there. So it was cool to see.
Yeah, good for the Midwest. And in particular, good for Nebraska. That's another week of Nebraska Preps post game. That's my man Jacob Padilla. I'm old DB. We'll be back next week. Make sure you tune in.